Welcome to the San Diego Spotlight, where we shine the light on business leaders around San Diego County. I'm your host, Elizabeth Story, bringing you the inside story. I'm excited about today's guest. He's a doctor that takes positive thinking to the next level, and he helps clients all over achieve better results in their field by employing the power of positive thinking. Dr. Eric Bean, mental performance coach and owner of Strong Mind LLC, welcome to our show.
Hey, thank you for having me.
Thanks for being here. I'm really excited to talk about this with you because I'm a big believer in positive thinking. So.
Well, I'm always excited to talk about it, so let's do it.
All right, let's do it. So before we delve into the particulars, I'd like to let our listeners know a little bit about you. Can you tell us where you're from and where you went to school?
Absolutely. So I grew up in San Fernando Valley in Los Angeles, and I did my undergrad at USC. So I, fight on.
Trojan.
Yeah, there you go. And then after that, I did my master's at Cal State Fullerton and my doctorate at Michigan State.
Nice. Good school.
Oh, yeah. So I'm a Trojan, a Titan, and a Spartan.
Now, how is that around family dinners?
Oh, it's pretty good. I could go either way. If it's football season, we'll talk either Trojans or, Spartans. If it's baseball season, I can talk Titans, so it's good to go.
Some good teams. Lucky you.
Yeah, I know. I chose wisely.
Yeah. So are you a big sports fan?
Absolutely.
All right.
Yeah, I love pretty much every sport out there.
So that's probably why then, so what inspired you to go into sports psychology, basically?
Yeah, absolutely. One of the big reasons why I do what I do is I fundamentally believe in human potential, right? I believe that, an extraordinary potential lies dormant in a lot of people, and it stays there because of fear, because of what they've been told, because of, the way they've sort of been pushed in this world. And when I first got into USC, I was interested in psychology. I'm interested in human behavior and why we do what we do. And it just didn't really register with me because at that time, psychology was more about what's wrong with you, how can we fix you? Let's get you back to normal, from the left side of the bell curve to the middle. And sports psychology, which I discovered towards the end of my career at USC, was really about, where are you at right now and how do we get you better? So it's not about what's wrong, what happened in the past, it's what's going on right now. And let's get better today, let's get better tomorrow.
What you focus on grows. So you're focusing on the positive and trying to take the focus away from the negative and unlocking the hidden potential that we have inside of ourselves.
Absolutely.
So that's great. So and let's back up a little bit. Can you explain to people exactly what it is that you do?
Yeah, so what I do is, simply put, is I train the brain, right? So I figure out what's going on, what are some of those blocks, and like you said, I help remove some of those blocks. I challenge people to push outside of their comfort zone, and I train a series of mental skills that some are naturally developed in most people or in a lot of people, and some that need to be taught. So whether that's effective goal setting, a refocus routine, visualization, or imagery, I teach a number of these skills to help people get out of their own way and unlock those great performances that are within them.
So when you were first starting your company, what were some of the challenges you faced when you were trying to get this set up and helping people understand what it is that you do?
I think one of the biggest challenges is the stigma. I typically refer to myself as a performance psychology consultant or a mental performance consultant. And a lot of times when people hear the word psychology or mental, they get a little touchy.
Right,
they
right.
just, they're uncomfortable with it because there's a stigma that goes alongside it. They have these visions of a leather couch and me with a yellow pad, and that's just not the case. So one of the biggest hurdles is educating people on what it is that I really do and what I'm here to do with you.
And that's why you really refer to yourself more as a mental coach, because people can really relate to that connotation, and it really does apply to what you do, especially when you're working with athletes or, anybody can be coached in anything, right? Everybody needs a coach.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yep, absolutely.
So we'll call you the mental coach.
All right, there we go. I like it.
So how do you get the word out about this kind of service that you offer to people?
Well, a number of things, So one is obviously we got to do the social networking, right?
Yeah.
That's just the era that we live in. So I try to stay fairly active, not as active as others on, Twitter and Facebook and those type of things. And then the other element of it is just communicating with people. I don't like sitting behind a computer screen. I like being out there. I like meeting people. I like getting to know people. And so that's my biggest approach is, meeting people, getting to know them, getting to know what's going on in their lives, and then hopefully, the word of mouth spreads, and my name is out there.
I bet you get great word of mouth, because when you have happy clients, they love to tell everybody else about it.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely.
Now, you're also a published author, is that correct?
That is correct. Yep.
And peer-reviewed as well.
Correct, yep.
So what are your favorite topics to write about?
Well, I write about different things. So typically what I write about is whatever I'm working on at that time. So when I was getting my doctorate at Michigan State, we were doing a leadership evaluation, a leadership program for college wrestling coaches. And it was a multi-pronged approach. So we did an online training, we did an in-person training, and a mentorship piece. And I evaluated the effectiveness of that program. So we developed the program, and then I wanted to see, well, is it working? Is it meeting our objectives? Is it meeting our goals? So I evaluated that program and wrote on what I found.
Okay, how interesting. So wrestling has kind of a unique piece, because it also has, it's not just the physical challenge, but it's also sometimes making weight, right? Is that a factor when you're doing wrestling performance coaching?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think, I read a quote recently from a colleague of mine that said, mental toughness is 70% physical. And I think, I think that sort of adds a new element to it, that a lot of times when we think about mental toughness, we think it just solely resides in the mind, but the body plays a huge role in that. And we see that with the Navy SEALs, we see that with a lot of different professions, where the physical element drives your performance. And that's something that we see in wrestling, is the physical element drives your performance. And then we have to make sure that the communication between the mind and body are working in the right way. The mind is going to want to stop long before the body is willing to. The body can go a lot further than the mind thinks it can.
So kind of talking about like when you hit the wall. Is that a good relationship to correlate? And then, so now you've also been working with some surgical residents, is that correct?
That's correct, yeah. When I was living in Washington for the last 4.5, 5 years, I did a lot of work with surgical and non-surgical residents, so emergency medicine physicians, anesthesiologists, etc.
How exciting!
It was really exciting. It was totally new environment for me. I'd never worked, with surgeons or really with the medical population, and it was extremely educational, and they were a great group. One of the things that I love about that group is they're dedicated and they're committed to getting better.
Yeah, they're probably extremely receptive to the mental performance coaching that you're doing, because they want to be leaders in their field.
A little bit. I mean, at first they push back a little bit.
Because they're doctors.
Right.
They know everything. They don't need you, especially surgeons.
Right.
No offense to any surgeons listening. I love you all, but we all know surgeons are better than everyone else.
But I think it's funny, because I think a lot of people have that idea about them, but really what I found with most people is they wear some sort of armor.
Yeah.
And they put this armor on to protect their ego, and that inhibits them really from being open to learning and open to exploring. Hey, can I get better? Am I really good at this, or do I want to be great? And that armor sometimes interferes. And so part of my job is to figure out, are you wearing that armor, number one, and number two, how do we chip away and get underneath and find the real core?
And I bet that's different for every profession that you are working with.
Absolutely,
yeah.
Absolutely. With the surgeons, one of the things is you got to kind of make weight, so to speak. You got to make weight mentally. You got to show your chops that hey, you can hang with the content and with the level of discussion that they're willing to, that they want to go to.
Yeah.
With the SEALs, it was more about, sort of the physical element. Are you going to be able to hang out with us when we're working out? I mean, are you going to be out there in the field when we're going after it?
Yeah.
And just being able to hang in that way.
And I'm really excited to talk about the SEALs. In fact, we're going to talk about that when we come back from the break. We got to take a short intermission, but we'll be back. This is the San Diego Spotlight. I'm your host, Elizabeth Story, and we're here with Dr. Eric Bean, mental performance coach from Strong Mind LLC. And like I said, when we come back, we're going to talk about the SEALs, some other professions, and some Division I athletics. You don't want to miss it. Stay tuned.